So we're in a period of huge transition, physically, socially, and economically, in all parts of the world. So let's just take physically for a second. We know that the planet is warming at a faster rate than anyone predicted. We know that our glaciers are melting. We know that that has an immediate impact on the availability of things like food and water and other resources, which puts enormous pressure on the costs of living and the way citizens are able to conduct their lives. And it's also therefore further exacerbating some inequalities and challenges that already exist in society, particularly in the last 5 to 7 years, where those inequalities have widened. Those physical and social risks are not a great environment for business to thrive in. If we want businesses to thrive in, they need a stable biosphere, they need a stable society in which business can thrive. Therefore, for business success, we need to make sure that we're arresting climate change, that we're in fact reversing emissions, bringing them as close to zero as possible, as quickly as possible, and ideally going into negative emissions so that we stop not just warming our planet, but we start cooling it down. We need to think about resource consumption in a whole different way. I think this planet provides us with sufficient resources. We need to learn to use them in a more responsible way, both in terms of the way businesses produce those resources, manufacture them and sell them into marketplaces, and also the way consumers consume those resources. Both sides need to happen at the same time. And if businesses can harness that opportunity, there is a huge, of course, moral and social opportunity, and environmental and social opportunity, but there's also an economic opportunity for businesses who can thrive within the biosphere, within a social construct. They can thrive and be successful. And that value is in trillions of dollars worth of value. And the good news for us all is that some businesses, not nearly as many as they should, but some businesses are already starting to practice that and seeing real success. Success in terms of what I call playing defense, which is becoming, mitigating their risks from extreme weather, from resource scarcity, but also playing offense by entering into new markets, growing markets like net zero technologies or circular fashion. And those businesses are doing really well. They're outperforming their peers. They're also enabling us to reduce overshoot in terms of how we consume our planet, not at the moment nearly 2 planets worth, but to bring it back to 1 planet, and how they're creating more equitable outcomes for society. We can have it all. We can have successful business only if we have a successful society that sits within a successful biosphere. Yeah, so I think it's, there's a well-respected and true definition of sustainability that centers around our role as custodians for future generations. But when you look at the last 10 years worth of changes, physical changes that we're seeing on the planet in terms of warming or sea level rise or ocean acidification or all the sort of different planetary boundaries, the truth is that all generations that are alive today, from people that are near the age of 80 to people that have just, that are under the age of 5, are experiencing climate change. Now, those experiences depend on, obviously, the level of life that you have left. So the younger you are, the more, if we continue on the trajectory that we're on now, the more you will experience the extreme effects. So, for example, a 4-year-old will experience 40 extreme heat waves in their lifetime, should they live till, say, 80, compared to an 80-year-old that is alive today who only experienced 3 extreme heat waves. But the truth is both the 80-year-old and the 4-year-old experience heat waves. The 8-year-old is definitely biologically more susceptible to heat waves, and those being sadly ultimately fatal. So to say that climate change or sustainability is something about future generations is actually factually incorrect. It's about every living generation today. I think it's the biggest innovation opportunity, the biggest social opportunity, the biggest economic opportunity that the world, that the business world can be, can take, can really utilize. So I liken it to, I suppose, the scale of the Industrial Revolution at the speed of the digital revolution, but without any of the side effects of both of those things, with only positive side effects. And I think that's deeply, deeply exciting. So we have a problem. Definitely, we have a problem that we need to fix. But that's also an opportunity to find new solutions to that problem. And I'm more excited about solving problems. And I think us as a race generally get more excited about solving problems than most other things. So I think that's what excites me about it. And I think the other thing that excites me working in business is that I feel business is the greatest change vector or solution provider there is. And the great news is there are many solutions that are here already. They just need to be equitably distributed and quickly. The urgency is great. And there are still some solutions that are in the labs that need to be brought into the marketplace, tested properly, and then rolled out if they're successful. So I think the Channel Islands and Guernsey have a very unique opportunity in being one of the big capital flow centers of the world to influence where that capital goes. At the moment, there is a up to 7 trillion gap in terms of what we're investing in climate solutions or sustainability solutions and what's needed to truly make them mainstream and truly have the positive impacts that we need. Guernsey can play a very pivotal role in diverting the flow of capital towards those solutions, especially as I think there's a vacuum, particularly from institutional investors, for institutional investors at the moment, because some of the US financial investment firms are pulling back from this. So therein lies a huge opportunity for Europe and Guernsey in particular to seize that opportunity, to become the centre for sustainable finance in the world. So the foundational elements of a business that I'm deeply proud to belong to are really strong, which is our purpose is to improve sight and hearing, change lives through improving sight and hearing. And that's really powerful. That's a very good purpose to wanted to improve human health. But we realise and have now established 3 years on a sustainability strategy. We've realised that in order to deliver that purpose to as many people as possible, we need to make sure that we're playing our part in protecting our planet and also serving communities, some of whom may not have access to our products and services. So how do we extend our reach, extend our purpose to those through either initiatives that we do with our partners through homelessness, or in Australia through the Fred Hollows Foundation, or colleagues in Northern Europe, taking reusable spectacles and their skills out to places like East Africa where those communities really need that help. As well as, of course, serving the 50 million customers that we provide affordable, good quality eye care to and hearing care to every year. So I'm very proud of a business that has that solid foundation of purpose and now is understanding to enhance that purpose. We need to do that in a sustainable way through our commitments on planet, communities, or people. So there's a lot of introspection as a sustainability professional that I've been doing about why is it that I've been at this for 20 years and when the KPIs are all going in the wrong direction, and now we have certain parts of the world, and I have to emphasize this, that unfortunately we're dominated by Western media, which tends to follow certain leaders more than others. But certain parts of the world where there is this perceived sort of pushback, I don't believe there is. So I work across the globe, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Africa, and in the States and Europe. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing some pushback in certain parts of the US, but for most of the world, this is no longer just the case, a morality case. This is a materiality case. If you don't have resources to run your business at an affordable price, you can't run your business. So if you want to protect those resources, you need to adopt regenerative ways of doing business, circular ways of doing business, and you need to protect your assets and your supply chains against what I call locked-in climate change and the physical characteristics of that. Otherwise, you can't do business. You can't, as someone much more famous than I said, you can't do business on a dead planet.